Made in Hollywood.
The horror comedy Rumours, featuring Cate Blanchett, is made in Hollywood.
If you look at footage of the G7 going through these cultural experiences, speaking to one another in such an artificial way, and the language they use to talk about the outcomes of their conversation, it's farcical and satirical.
Made in Hollywood.
Also on today's show, Josh Brolin and Peter Dinklage hit the road together in the crime comedy Brothers.
He was so pitched at 11. There were times where I was like, is this gonna work? Is this too much? But that's the genius of Brendan Fraser, because it worked perfectly, and he knew that.
Plus, the comedic drama Goodrich features Michael Keaton and Mila Kunis. Mikey Madison finds love in the modern-day fairy tale Honora, and the groundbreaking cinematic experience Piece by Piece tells the story of music icon Pharrell Williams. This week on Made in Hollywood.
Made in Hollywood.
After getting lost in the woods, a group of world leaders try to navigate the greatest crisis of their lives as Cate Blanchett headlines an all-star cast in the horror comedy Rumours.
Look at us, the esteemed leaders of each of these great nations.
We are also here to produce a draft of a provisional statement regarding the present crisis. We should not forget that.
It is important to say what we mean.
Yes, of course. People look to us to provide clarity.
I got the tone, obviously, of what the tone could possibly be by looking at Guy's other work, but it was more beautiful than I imagined.
The text itself was directing us in a certain way. That's actually one of the reasons I wanted to do this, is because it surprised me.
Yes, and I think that the chemistry is a present of the directors.
On a shoot like this, we literally, every scene, we have to go around, each person's close up, and you see what people are giving, and like there's a musicality to it.
I believe we are in a crisis.
We already knew that. Why are you covered in mud?
We wanted to, I think, mostly to avoid direct comparisons between our fictional characters and real life figures, or not to avoid comparisons. The comparisons are going to be inevitable.
In playing the female German chancellor, you know, but they cast me, and I'm probably about 7 feet taller than Angela Merkel. But I mean, what a woman!
What were they then? Terrorists?
They loomed threateningly.
Protesters.
That's what I thought too at first.
I think some things are coincidences, like if the fact that our American president nods off and falls asleep from time to time in the movie really had nothing to do with the so-called Sleepy Joe.
We wrote this, a few years before he was known as Sleepy Joe. Yeah. It just was a coincidence.
Something apocalyptic has occurred. It's the dark ending our species deserves.
Over the last few years, watching G7 summits on television have always been a great way to cleanse the palate. And then we suddenly recognized in these statements they issue every year that there's something that they're writing that we're not quite finished writing yet. And then we realized we're just basically our own little group of 7.
Do you remember that episode of South Park where they took you through Scientology? They just went through the facts. If you look at footage of the G7 going through these cultural experiences, speaking to one another in such an artificial way, and the language they use to talk about the outcomes of their conversation, it's farcical and satirical, but yet they mean it. It felt like a documentary sometimes. They take themselves very seriously.
Very serious. And the writing is so good. It's very precise, very witty, very funny. So you just have to learn your lines and repeat them in order for it to come to the surface.
She can only speak gibberish.
Bäraren av deras budskap. Swedish. She's just speaking Swedish.
Now available on your home screen. Family bonds are stretched to their limits when estranged twins reunite for the score of a lifetime in the crime comedy Brothers, starring Josh Brolin and Peter Dinklage.
That's me. The big ugly one is my twin brother, Moke. I had the plans, he had the hands.
Freeze! Go, 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 go! Josh and I wanted to make a comedy. We wanted to play brothers. And we just had this somewhat flimsy idea of just wanting to make this. And suddenly we have Glenn Close playing our mom. It was really incredible.
We just bought a house while we're having a kid.
Let's do this one and split.
I have to take it down.
All came out of
you know, people saying, God, you and Dinklage look alike. You guys should do a movie together. You know, look at how big your heads are. Why do you get, you know, whatever. And then me calling Peter and saying, hey, do you want to do this thing? And he's like, yeah, immediately. And then you go, okay, so we have this blank canvas. What do we do?
1, 2, 3, Dracula. We can go 2 out of 3 if you want.
Good on the floor.
I just feel like Wolfman would beat out Dracula.
Wolfman's once a month. Dracula is all the time. Use your head.
The tone of that movie is so crazy that to have like a traditional sex scene just seemed like the fly in the face of the rest of the movie. So what these people, these oddball people, these prison pen pals, to dance to hardcore speed metal, that's their like, that's their most intimate.
I love that scene.
That's their most intimate thing they can think of. It's so Macon Blair, our writer, and me and Marissa, it's just such in the spirit of the film.
Mom?
She's one of the greats, and it was insane to be finally working with her. And I never knew it would happen, but I was kicking myself every day.
Why are you back now?
The emeralds, worth about $4 million. I got a plan. What it takes out of us.
One of the nicest human beings on this planet, Brendan Fraser.
Truly.
He had just come from the movie The Whale, so I think he had to get something out of his system. He had to get off that couch and run around in Atlanta with us. I think he like screamed all his dialogue.
I know. I don't understand how he had that kind of energy.
Yeah.
Especially coming from The Whale.
He was so pitched at 11. There were times where I was like, is this gonna work? Is this too much? But that's the genius of Brendan Fraser, because it worked perfectly, and he knew that.
Thank you.
Coming up, Michael Keaton and Mila Kunis try to find common ground in the comedic drama Goodrich, and the modern-day love story Honora features Mikey Madison. To find out where to watch any movie, check out MoviePhone.com. Find it, watch it.
I knew I was halfway in already once I read it, because I thought, this is really good writing.
Made in Hollywood. Made in Hollywood.
In Goodrich, featuring Michael Keaton and Mila Kunis, an art gallery owner is compelled to rebuild his relationship with his adult daughter after suddenly being thrust into single parenthood.
Naomi, where are you?
I've checked into rehab.
What?
I am staying here for 90 days.
Wait a minute. What?
I gotta go.
90 days?
You'll do great.
It started with my personal life and feeling like, my father remarried and had a second set of kids, and I thought that was an interesting dynamic. And that kind of made me feel like it wasn't just about me, and other people might relate to these themes of complicated family dynamics with second marriages. So that's when I sort of felt like I was really on to something. And then I thought about Michael Keaton because I really wanted to explore the idea of a man who parented in the 80s and 90s and then was parenting again, a younger generation now, the complications of that and the comedy of that.
I knew I was halfway in already once I read it, because I thought, this is really good writing.
What's up, Dad?
Naomi's in rehab.
Seriously?
She's addicted to pills, and she's left me. You didn't seem really surprised.
I don't know. I guess it's not like that big of a shocker.
Not a shocker?
What I wanted to explore with the relationship between Andy and Grace is that he's at a different place in his life and his career where he is able to, because of the circumstances of the film, spend a lot more quality time with his 9-year-olds than he was able to spend with Mila's character when she was that age.
You almost have guilt over the resentment, because you have the resentment, but you also know that in this world that your dad was probably busy doing other things and you can't really hold him accountable for doing the best that he could with what he had at the time.
She sort of watches him become the parent to the second generation that she didn't have.
Where's Mom?
Mom had to go back home for a little while to see Grandma. She's getting older, so...
Grandma's the same age as you.
No, she's not.
My favorite films and the films that I was sort of watching and, thinking about while making this movie are the kinds of movies that have that really great balance of comedy and drama. That used to sort of just be the norm, and now it's in this, independent film world where you don't know where you land if you have a little bit of both.
She has really good taste, not just in comedy, not just in movie making, but in life, she's very stylish, but like in a really kind of clean, classic kind of way for a woman her age. No, really, she's young.
She's very young. She's younger than me.
Do you know how hard it is to watch you be father in the year all of a sudden? They get a version of you that I never had.
I know. Just don't cry, because if you cry, then I'm gonna cry.
I think when you both have a history of comedy, which they both do, it's very easy to go in and out of that comedy drama, because they're comfortable in both genres, and that's a gift that not everybody has.
I loved working with Michael. Everybody loves working with Michael. Find one person that's ever gonna be like, Michael's awful. Find one.
Find one. Go ahead.
I dare you. Most fun humans to work with.
How nice is that? I wish, I always thought it'd be nice to have a daughter. This would have been a great one to have.
Aw.
I want you to channel a word that describes what you need. We're all going to shout our words at the same time.
Help!
I was gonna count to 3.
A sex worker's whirlwind marriage to an oligarch's son begins to spiral out of control when his family threatens to unravel her fairy tale romance as Mikey Madison stars in Honora.
Yo, did you pick up milk?
Do you see milk in the fridge?
No.
Then I didn't pick up milk.
Wonderful. Thank you.
To have a director like that approach me and want to work with me, I've never had that experience before. So I did put a lot of pressure on myself to do this character justice and to live up to any expectations that he had of me.
It was 2009, right after Prince of Broadway. We had a meet and I told him, so what do we do next? So one day he called, he said, I wrote a new script. Are you ready to read it? So I read Honora. I was in awe.
Cash up front.
Deal. You know, when I first time wrote the script, I felt about Ivan and about Honora that they are together because both of them are alone. They feel really lonely in this, big rude war.
If I get married to an American, I wouldn't have to go back to Russia.
When you have, as partner as Mikey, like Mikey Madison, it's like you haven't do nothing. You just can be in the frame beside her and just feel her energy and try to support her.
I think I went into the process and the preparation quite naively.
Да я был с ним 2 недели назад буквально. Он не женат.
Well, you did tell them, right?
Иванжан, открой дверь, пожалуйста.
I can't understand that we really work together. Because when you are working, you have stress. You are thinking, am I doing correct or not? Was it a mistake? Was it a good scene or not? And with the Sean Baker, you are not thinking about it. And it wasn't like work. It was like really, literally life on the set in our characters.
When I read the script, it was very funny and interesting and amazing. And then during the process, I felt like it's becoming better and better.
Yeah, it's absolutely the same. It was very, very organic. Sometimes we don't know what we try to find, but Sean knows.
Like, what do you do to get all of this?
I am telling you, you do not know this guy.
It was funny, very, very challenging. I was exhausted at the end of the day, and it was so hard not to laugh afterwards because it was ridiculous, but awesome.
To find out where to watch any movie, check out MoviePhone.com. Find it, watch it. Up next, we dive into Pharrell Williams' colorful animated adventure Piece by Piece, brought to life by Academy Award-winning director Morgan Neville.
How do I tell a story about a black nerd from the projects who doesn't fit in, and then suddenly he completely fits in?
Made in Hollywood. Made in Hollywood.
Here's what's hot on screen. From a young boy with a unique way of seeing the world to global superstardom, Piece by Piece from Academy Award-winning director Morgan Neville chronicles the story of music icon Pharrell Williams.
It might seem crazy what I'm about to say.
When I was a kid, I knew I was different. And people would say, oh, that's an odd child. And that crushed my spirit.
This crazy idea came from Pharrell, where he apparently had the idea that if he was ever going to do anything like a documentary, it would be in Lego. And apparently everybody he told this to said that's a terrible idea. Or it's a crazy idea. It's like an unattainable idea.
I loved music. It was mesmerizing to me. I would see beautiful hues of light cascading. I just thought that's what all black kids did, stared into the speaker like, whoa.
The documentary process is, you know, revision and looseness. You don't have a lot of control. You're just trying to kind of stitch together the messiness of reality into something. And in animation, you're God. You know, you get to build the world. You get to put everybody wherever you want them and make everybody say whatever you want them to say.
I need to show the world what I can do.
Hi, Pharrell. I need help on this rap.
Yes, sir.
It's pretty simple. Just let it bounce. He just went in the room and freestyled it.
It's Teddy, ready with the 1-2 check.
All I cared about was making my own music, but people just said no.
How do I tell a story about a black nerd from the projects who doesn't fit in, and then suddenly he completely fits in? And what does that mean to his own creative voice, and how does he stay in touch with it?
Who did that?
Pharrell.
Pharrell.
Wow.
We didn't tell anybody in the beginning that it was going to be Lego. It was kind of a secret. And then I started to show some of the people in the film their character designs. And I have to say, every single person was excited. You know, like, who doesn't want to be a minifig in Lego?
Hey, Pharrell. Hey, how you doing, man? You know, it'd be cool is if we told my story with Lego pieces.
Seriously? I mean, I'm not normally a character in my movies, but this was such an unusual movie that I felt like if I was honest about my role in the film, it actually helped the audience understand how we got here.
Holy moly, guacamole. Legendary story, yeah?
Stay tuned, there's more coming up on Made in Hollywood.
Made in Hollywood.
Thanks for watching Made in Hollywood, powered by MoviePhone. For more behind-the-screen content, check out MoviePhone.com.
Made in Hollywood.